Like many of you, I've had the pleasure of working in retail, as a sales assistant to be exact. Now, don't get it twisted. The pleasure comes from the fact that I learned a lot from my retail experience. The pleasure certainly didn't come from working the job. In fact, the job itself was completely insufferable. So, to help brace those entering the retail world for the very first time, I've decided to put together a brief outline of the pain points you'll certainly experience on the job, and my advice on how to deal with each one without completely losing your mind. We'll call this a retail survival guide, if you will. Number 1. Dealing with customers. Almost everyone who's worked in retail will agree that their distaste for other people was greatly enhanced from their experience working the job. The constant complaints about things being out of stock and being too expensive, of course, is a tough thing to put up with, especially when you have no control over either issue. Some customers will get stuck on you for such issues and won't leave you alone. The best thing for you to do in this scenario is to refer them to a manager, and if that doesn't work, see yourself out the back to the store stockroom and wait patiently for them to leave. And if they're still there once you get back, rinse and repeat. Eventually, they'll move on. Customers also have a habit of touching everything they see when looking for the item they want, which, in turn, messes up the small amount of work you do, and will result in you having to redo your work. This will be a constant thing you see while on the job, and the sad thing is, there's not much you can do about this. Apparently, customers have a right to look at the items they're buying. Well, that's according to HR. All I can tell you is, your growing resentment for everyone who reads every label on every food on every shelf and ends up not buying anything is valid. My overall advice for dealing with customers is, accept that they'll always be a nuisance, but with time, the desire to tell each one to see themselves out the door will fade because as you get more experience, the less energy you'll have available to exert dealing with them. Number 2. Dealing with micromanagers. Nobody likes to be told what to do, for blatantly obvious reasons. It's bad enough that you have to get out of bed to work a job where you're paid the absolute minimum, but some unfortunate souls will also have to put up with the verbal lashing of ego-tripped retail micromanagers every once in a while. Not everyone is like this, but the ones that are, well, let's say I'm not and you won't be particularly fond of them. Did you spend the last 2 hours facing off every shelf in your area? Well, they'll tell you to do it again, but this time, do it less shit. Do you want to go on break? Well, in their time, they never got breaks. They worked 12-hour shifts without blinking an eye. Do you want to be treated like an actual human being? Well, they'll say, that's pushing the limit. Bottom line, you're going to have to deal with plenty of professional clowns. The best thing to do is let their shite go in one ear and immediately out the other. Number 3. Coworkers. You'll find most of your coworkers are just kids in their first job. Why is this the case? Well, they're cheap, like the owners. Was I one of these kids? Hell yeah! Was I enthusiastic about the job? Fuck no. And neither will your coworkers be. Well, perhaps that isn't a fair reflection on how new, especially younger employees feel. Initially, we're all delighted just to be employed. Having an opportunity to make money so you can buy all the bullshit you want is exciting, but then you hit the second hour of your first 8-hour shift and you realise that you're in for a long day of pain. You'll also come across plenty of older heads working in retail. Now, some people might view older heads working in retail with a sense of snobbishness, but you have to remember, while some didn't get the career they wanted and had to settle for what would pay the bills, others simply didn't care about the prospect of having a fancy career. Their priorities lied elsewhere, for example, with their family. Now, with that positive narrative out of the way so I don't get attacked by a bunch of older heads in the comments, a lot of them are also cranky bollockses who can be a complete pain in the ass to deal with. All in all, your co-workers, like you, will be very jaded, and if someone isn't, well, they're probably new. Give them time. You'll watch them turn. Number 4. The job. Did the job description specifically mention that you will have to do the same tasks over and over again at light speeds while also having to listen to the bullshit of strangers walking in and out every day? If you don't think it did, check again. It probably was explained that way, but in a broad way, showcasing the role in a more favourable light. Facing shelves, working the cashier, solving customer problems. These are just some of the many tasks you'll be expected to do. The best advice I can give you for working a job is to look like you're busy. This way, Most people will leave you alone, managers and customers alike. If you're getting paid the minimum, do the minimum to keep the job. No use working flat out for people who couldn't give a damn about the additional efforts you put in. If you're looking for a glamorous career that will change the world, well, this might come as a surprise, but retail might not be for you. Number 5. Being nice. Mustering up the courage to get out of bed and go to work is hard, but being expected to put on a smile while doing so, that is above and beyond. At least to me it is. To employers and customers, it's expected. Customers will expect you to be happy and nice since they're giving the store their money, which indirectly pays your wages. Employers will expect you to be happy, nice and grateful to be employed. After all, where would you be without their generosity? My advice for being nice is suppress your anger, smile and wave, and bide your time. Drain as much money as you can, and when the opportunity comes, you can fuck off for something better. Number 6. Conclusion. Working in retail is a rite of passage. Despite the few highs and many lows, it's a job I would recommend everybody experience at some point in your life, mainly as a comparison. So, when you dislike the other jobs you work in your future, you can always remember back to the time you worked in retail and feel better about your current situation.